Lights, camera, action. Up and down the Queensland coast, fragmented images captured of some kind of mystery movie. In Gladstone today, whatever happened last night was the talk of the town.
Everyone's talking about it, yeah.
We actually thought someone was breaking in. Our whole house shook.
Every man and his dog felt, heard or saw something. Peter Frank and mate Shadow were on their boat. They saw.
It was extremely bright, and then it turned back and then it just had a big white flash and then a white streak, and then it's short-lived.
At Gladstone Marina, their cameras caught two views of the sky lighting up.
Felt the windows pulsate like as a sound barrier sort of thing.
Further south on the beach at Tannum Sands, they had warnings about pretty much anything except flying things.
We were having dinner at the table and next minute the glass door just shook like this for a good, 5 seconds.
Just like a shooting star really, but like a lot bigger, and it had a huge tail on it, really colourful.
What colours?
So it was like blue and orange and green, definitely.
Ethan says whatever it was he saw last night flew over the waters here at Tannum Sands and then continued north towards Gladstone. He wasn't just seeing things, he was hearing things too.
I heard noise about like 2 minutes after.
What sort of noise?
Just like a massive loud boom.
Even further south at Turkey Beach, well, it was almost like the earth moved.
Our bed gave a bit of a wriggle and that was it.
Social media lit up. The consensus seemed to be the UFO was a meteor, though some couldn't see what all the fuss was about.
Don't take too much notice of meteors, mate. As long as they don't hit your house, that's the main thing.
Phil's in Gladstone this evening. Phil, where could this ball of light have crash landed?
Well, Andrew, we don't even know if it actually did. There's some speculation that this thing, whatever it was, burnt up and disintegrated before it hit anything. Then there are others who, based on the trajectory and the direction they saw this thing travelling, they were convinced that it must have crashed into the ocean. Then again, there were others who were convinced from what they saw that it was going to crash on the mainland. Apart from all of that, Andrew, we don't even know actually what this thing was. So there's still a lot of mystery and intrigue surrounding this remarkable event.
We're glad you're on the case. All right, Phil, thank you.
A powerful typhoon has laid waste to northeastern Taiwan. At least 4 people have died and 316 have been injured. Almost 3 million homes have been left without electricity in Yilan province. Thousands of people have been evacuated from their homes and are being housed in temporary shelters.
A 700-ton crane in eastern Taiwan was no match for Super Typhoon Maggie's gale force winds. The storm made landfall Tuesday afternoon. Screams could be heard as Maggie tore scaffolding down from buildings standing in its way. One young woman struggled to retrieve her motorbike. As she fought the storm, she broke out in tears. The storm toppled houses and ripped rooftops off, forcing people to flee their homes. Typhoon Maggie is due to make landfall in China's Fujian and Guangdong provinces on Wednesday. Authorities have asked people to return their boats to port and stay ashore. Rescue relief teams are ready for deployment. Mainland residents are bracing for the worst.
According to our analysis, an area of around 200,000 square meters will receive about 100 millimeters of precipitation. Coastal areas like Fujian and Zhejiang will likely get around 300 millimeters of precipitation.
Weather authorities say the storm is following the same route that Super Typhoon Meranti took about 2 weeks ago. Typhoon Meranti was the strongest storm to hit China so far this year. It battered China's coastal towns and left at least 28 people dead. Many in Fujian are still recovering from Typhoon Meranti and fear they aren't prepared for another storm.
We have been up overnight and have used the wood boards to strengthen the window, but we're not sure if it is enough for this kind of typhoon.
Local weather authorities have issued an alert and asked residents to make precautionary measures and to stay indoors. Experts have also warned tourists who have travel plans for China's upcoming National Day holiday.
Typhoons have hit during National Day holiday 3 times in the past 5 years. There's always a large number of travelers over the holiday period, and we'd like to remind tourists to be safe.
Chinese authorities have allocated 220 million yuan, that's about $33 million in disaster relief for areas standing in the path of the typhoon.
Red tide causing massive fish kills all along the coast of southwest Florida, including locally. ABC 7's Kate Flexter was on Siesta Beach and tells us what the conditions are like.
Here on Siesta Key Beach, the impact of red tide is tangible. It's just one of several beaches around southwest Florida that's feeling the effects. The weather is perfect for a beach day, but the water, far from it.
First time coming to Siesta Key, heard a lot about it. Wanted to come check it out, and we found out firsthand, unfortunately, they get red tide.
A walk on the beaches of North Longboat Key, and it becomes clear where red tide gets its name. The water a deep, rusty color, thousands of dead fish lining the shore.
For the 2 years I've lived here, it's been blue, clear, not like this.
At Siesta Beach, a similar scene, birds picking away at what's left behind.
Lots of dead fish, seaweed, smelly, really bad.
Florida Fish and Wildlife's latest report identifies those two beaches as having the highest levels of red tide, an algae bloom that produces toxic chemicals. For humans, it causes respiratory irritation. But for marine organisms and some birds, it's often deadly.
This is the worst I've seen. Actually, it is.
Justin Matthews of Matthews Wildlife Rescue says conditions are at their worst. He's already rescued several birds affected by red tide.
A lot of these birds eat the fish, and a lot of these fish are swimming slow because they're sick. Easy prey for cormorant, so you get a lot of cormorants in, the diving fish.
And he expects to see those rescues only increase as the situation develops.
The red tide comes in and it's gone. And then a few weeks later, you start getting all these sick birds in. So it can take a while to make that bird sick.
For the latest on beach conditions, be sure to log on to mysuncoast.com. From Siesta Key Beach, Kate Flexter, ABC 7, your Suncoast News.
Well, many beaches have been closed after masses of Portuguese man-of-war and box jellyfish appeared in southern Thailand's Phi Phi Island and Koh Samui. Well, the venom from these creatures can be fatal. Last week, a 2-year-old boy's heart reportedly stopped for 2 minutes after he was stunned by a box jellyfish.
And now some scientists have made a breakthrough that brings us one step closer to real-life Star Trek-style teleportation. Scientists from the University of Calgary have succeeded in teleporting a particle close to 4 miles away from its original location. Dr. Wolfgang Tittel, who is shockingly a real person and not a kidnapped scientist in a James Bond movie, explained the breakthrough in a press statement, saying, "Being entangled means that the two photons that form an entangled pair have properties that are linked regardless of how far the two are separated. When one of the photons was sent over to City Hall, it remained entangled with the photon that stayed at the University of Calgary. What happened is the instantaneous and disembodied transfer of the photon's quantum state onto the remaining photon of the entangled pair, which is the one that remains 6 kilometers away at the university."
Certain young people in our area are more likely to become victims of human trafficking. Local 12's Anjanette Levy shows us how one organization is working to help those young people and keep them off the streets.
It's hard to know who's living in this homeless camp off Guest Street, but it's quite possible it's a member of the LGBT community.
It's a huge concern. We know that LGBT youth, and especially LGBT youth of color, are more likely to be solicited and engaged in human trafficking when they become homeless.
Melissa Meyer runs the Safe and Supported program operated by Lighthouse Youth Services to help homeless LGBT youth. Street teams reach out to young people.
So they're visiting homeless camps and other areas of town where they know these youth are spending time, provide resources to them like food, blankets, hygiene items, and engage with them, trying to connect them to shelter and other services.
Safe and Supported has set up host homes. Those are people willing to take in homeless young people. Experts in the Department of Health and Human Services say that LGBTQ youth are more susceptible to becoming homeless and engaging in activities like human trafficking because of family rejection. At the Freedom Center tonight, groups came together to discuss the violence that can result from human trafficking. It's part of an effort to keep young people from ending up on the street.
with events like this, through other awareness events, we want to raise awareness about how to identify human trafficking and the vulnerabilities people face to trafficking.
Anjanette Levy, Local 12
Today, Governor
News.
Rick Scott is taking action, telling the Department of Environmental Protection to now put an emergency rule into place that would alert the public immediately about any potential pollution situation.
This, of course, because the Mosaic incident didn't go public for 3 weeks.
We also had that sewage dumping situation right there into Tampa Bay from the city of St. Petersburg. Now today, Governor Scott said that he's going to try to make this new rule a law next year. He's also planning to visit the Mosaic site tomorrow.
And meanwhile, some 200 homeowners are still waiting to find out if their wells have signs of radioactive chemicals. The Now's Nicole Grigg joins us live from the Mosaic area with a test that claims to have immediate results. Nicole?
Paul and Laura, lab results were supposed to be in today, but ECT, the company independently testing the water, says they need more time. But more time means a bigger concern for what's coming out of these taps. A California company claims they have made an at-home water testing kit. Aqua DX or Diagnostics sent us this at-home test because they're offering it to people near Mosaic for free. 6 drops of water. Heather George lives near the plant.
It smells like body odor.
She's still waiting for her results from the lab company. They're now saying radioactive results should be in by Wednesday.
It stirs a mixed emotion, you know. Are they trying to hide something? Is something really wrong and they're scared to tell us?
So with her permission and her own curiosity,
2, 3.
we tried the test.
4, 5.
And within 6 minutes, it claims to give you a pass or fail for pesticides and a number of heavy metals. Heather's water got 2 blue dots, meaning pass or good to drink. Despite what any test results read, experts say people need to keep testing their water. The first 40 results came back, everything was clear. Will you drink your water if you get it clear?
No, I will not.
So even though this test right here claims that the water is safe to drink, we cannot conclusively confirm that.
I have a statement that I can answer any questions that anybody has. So I landed over at the I drove down to the Lakeland Airport and took a helicopter ride over here, and got to see above the where the sinkhole is, and got a better understanding. They've been informing me, but you get a better understanding when you actually see what was going on there and how the water goes. Then we just sat through a briefing with Mosaic and some consultants and Secretary Stevenson and EPA. So everybody was there, and so they sort of explained where they believe the problem is and how they're going to fix it. So Secretary Stevenson is still there going through the explanation of how they're going to fix this. They also went through and explained the flow of water and the additional drills they're welling, or their wells they're drilling, to make sure they capture the water that or the liquid that's going down. So they explained all that. So we clearly have a law with regard to public notification that didn't make sense. There's no common sense in this. And when we have pollution, whether it's a company, whether it's the city, whether it's the county, we have to notify people, and it's the right thing to do. That's why I directed the DEP, Department of Environmental Protection, to do an emergency rule where we'll have prompt notification 24 hours when there's pollution. The public will know, local government will know, basically the media will know when there's pollution, so we can all react to it, and we're all working off of similar information. On top of that, I will go through and work next session to get this codified into law, and also increase the penalties. The penalties need to be severely strengthened. So everybody will be Now, in this case, DEP was on site within 24 hours, and they've been actively monitoring it. Last week, I asked DEP to do two things. One, I wanted them to investigate what happened down in Pinellas County with the sewage spill, and also accelerate their investigation here. If anybody's done anything wrong, we're going to hold them accountable. If there's any fines that are appropriate, we'll do fines. I also asked our Department of Health to assist DEP to make sure all of our water is safe to drink. And the most important thing, I think, for all of us is, my family lives here, is that all of our water is safe to drink. We expect everybody in our state to have healthy or safe water, and that's my expectation also. But bottom line is, if we find a rule or regulation or law that doesn't make sense, we're going to actively work to fix it. We did that here with this this emergency rule. We're going to have public notification within 24 hours of any pollution, and we're going to keep everybody informed. I'll be glad to answer any question anybody has.
Governor, was there anything that Mosaic could have done that they didn't do?
Well, that's, we have an ongoing investigation. We'll find that out as we go through the investigation. If there's something that that you could do, they should have done differently. So that's part of the investigation. And there's active investigation by DEP.
Governor, when did you find out about this water loss incident?
Jerry can get you the timeline of when we did it, so it's accurate.
24 hours after it happened?
She'll get you the exact timeline, so I say it right. So
Governor,
she'll get you the exact timeline.
Governor, what of all the problems, radioactivity, chemicals, what concerns you the most about the environmental impact?
Well, the first thing, the most important thing, of course, is safe drinking water. So it's two things. One, the most important thing is safe drinking water, right? That's absolutely the most important thing. But the other thing is, we ought to know this promptly. All of us ought to know. There ought to have been public notification right away. That's an outdated law, and so that's why we did the emergency rule.
Governor, last week your office issued one of your setting the record straight statements defending DEP's performance on this, and now you're saying we need to change the law. What changed? What convinced you to make these changes?
Well, I mean, if you follow it, DEP followed the existing law. The law is outdated. Bottom line is the law is outdated. There should have been public notification promptly. That's why I directed them to do the emergency rule of 24 hours. My experience in business and my experience in this job is it's no different. We just had Hurricane Hermine, and we say to ourselves afterwards, okay, so what can we do better? I mean, as you all know, I wanted power to get back up faster. So is there something that all of us can do better? So one thing I'm going to do there is try to get all the utilities to get to know each other, because in that case, the co-ops know each other, the public utilities know each other, and the four big publicly traded companies know each other. They all know each other and share resources.
Governor, would this law apply to the DEP?
Well, will it apply to DEP? The way it'll actually work is this: let's say it's a company, or whether say it's a city, they will make a public notification to you, the media. On top of that, they will make a notification through DEP, and then DEP clearly will be held accountable to make sure that it gets out.
So, but the DEP does not notify the public.
There was no existing rule to require. That's what doesn't make sense.
But morally, should they have notified the public?
Well, if you go back and think about it, the reason we're doing this is the public should know. I mean, it's an outdated law. It's our rule. It doesn't make sense. It's no different than the fines. The fines don't make sense. We had the same issue. We tried to work to increase the fines on drilling, oil drilling down close to where I live in Collier County, because the existing fine just doesn't make any sense.
But that law didn't say DEP shouldn't notify the public, did it?
Oh, look, the bottom line is, we're going to have notification. We're going to do it within 24 hours. Companies, cities, counties are all going to do it. It's the right thing to do.
Governor, Mosaic has apologized to the public for not telling people. Should the DEP apologize also?
What I'm focused on is, let's make sure we go forward, we do the right thing. Let's make sure we have public notification. Everybody knows what the rules are now. We have an emergency rule. That's why I directed DEP to do it. They're going to make sure the public knows promptly, and then we're doing exactly what we're doing now. Is we're going to monitor it and figure out how to make sure it doesn't impact. Do everything we can to make sure it doesn't impact water quality.
Was the change in the law your idea, or did it come from Secretary Stevens?
I directed DEP to do it.
Governor, did you learn anything new today?
I've never been to this plant, so just how it works. is I've never seen how a phosphide plant works
What
before.
about the incident and the pollution and the environmental?
You know, one thing
Did you learn
there.
anything new?
Yeah, one thing they informed me of how many more wells they're going to drill, and so that was in conjunction with DEP and Mosaic deciding how many wells need to be drilled to where we can monitor, because it's real. I mean, we have got to constantly be monitoring this so it doesn't impact water quality. And they're explaining how they're very comfortable that they can, and we'll monitor to make sure, but they believe they can, through these wells, pull up all the water that has drained from the sinkhole.
Governor Robin has a question. Oh, I just wanted to know what it looked like. We can't go and look. So, was it surprised? Is it as big as a swimming pool? Was it?
Here's what they said. I'll tell you what it looks like, and then here's what they said. It looks like, so the way it was explained to me, there's these layers. Okay, they have this. I guess it's a polyurethane layer that's supposed to hold.
The liner.
Liner, yeah, liner is supposed to hold, and so he said that was breached. But it's just like it's like a. They think it's a total of possibly, and the biggest is max was 45 feet, which is 15 yards, I guess, or about 15 yards wide. But what you see is it's just like a. If you ever been to the beach where you see water just draining down into the sand, that's what it looks like. It looks like just it's all messed up, but you can see seepage. They explained to me that they'll continue to seep because they pumped out all the water they could. The gypsum that surrounds it has moisture in that, so that'll continue to have some seepage there. And then if it rains, they'll have some others. But the other thing they explained, which was interesting, is the flow of the water. But what they're doing is they've got a lot of wells all around here to test, but they're also adding more wells around just to make sure that they can continue to test. And they said they're about 2.5 miles away from their closest property owner where the water would flow. But they also have wells on the opposite. If they're wrong, they got wells over there too.
Governor, will DEP keep you in the dark, and if so, are you going to fire Secretary Stevenson?
Well, we're in the middle of an ongoing investigation. I'm not going to fire Secretary Stevenson based on anything I know today. He followed the law. But look, the bottom line is this. The bottom line is we have a law that's outdated. We need to know. You, the public, needs to know immediately if there's pollution. That's the bottom line is when we see something that's messed up, we ought to fix it. That's what I did in my business life. And that's what I'm doing right after Ermine. I've learned in Ermine that our public utilities co-ops and the municipal utilities, don't know each other well enough. We're going to take this and we're going to change.
We'll take one more.
Should this affect Moet and Mosaic's pursuit of other permits for expanding their phosphate operation?
Well, look, I think what you always do is when anything happens, you always step back and say to yourself, okay, so what can we do better? Is there something we need to learn from this? I mean, I ask a bunch of questions there, and one I'm learning some things because I'd never been to this plant before. So I think you always step back. Everybody always steps back and you learn. I'm sorry.
My understanding, if I'm reading the numbers correctly, is that DEP's budget has been reduced over the years. Do they have the money necessary to do enforcement or investigations related to this?
They have all the funds they need.
Thanks,
Governor,
everyone.
what did they
Thanks,
tell you
everybody.
about